So the question that came in, which we were asked the same question last year, and it makes me wish I had it to compare handwriting. I don't know if they're the same person. Because it's almost written in the same way. What does it mean to live spiritually, authentically in daily life? And what does that look like, right? In terms of like daily, weekly practices, things like that. And I'm going to have more time to speak later tonight. And so I'll answer that question then. But I just wanted to give space. If other people want to just share what that looks like for you. Like
you're just looking at it very intensely. I've, over this last year, since last time we've been asked this question, have just really been trying to be very simple and very intentional about my practice, setting my bar at an achievable level, not something that's so far stretched that it's impossible to keep up with, but also not something that like isn't stimulating and like a little tiny bit of a challenge. So for me, what that looks like right now is at the very minimum attempting to commit to just sitting for 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening before bed. And the rest of the day, I'll probably chant because like I just really enjoy doing that. And like a day just feels a little bit like sadder if I don't do that. My sitting practice, it varies a lot as to what that actually looks like in the moment. A big part of it for me is just really learning to accept and to be with whatever is happening, whether it's me watching my breath, whether it's more of a body scan like we did this morning, whether it is like a mantra meditation. It looks different every day, you know. I love the metaphor of us all as plants. You know, Maharaji or whoever or whatever plants these seeds, and that's us. And we can also water ourselves, and eventually maybe we'll sprout a little bit, and then maybe we'll grow a little bit more, and maybe eventually bloom. But regardless, that growth process looks different every day. Some days it's pouring, and you don't really need to water yourself as much. Maybe you need a little more sunlight. Other days it's sun's so blazing that like you're just so dehydrated and you need that water. So trying to offer myself grace for whatever it is that happens. Tyler and I recently did a retreat together in Atlanta, Just Love Forest. SCP did a retreat there last year, very near and dear to my heart. That experience for me was a big reminder and a big practice of showing up in truth and honesty. And being in community is that same sort of practice for me, right? Without oversharing, I tend to fill in the parts I don't really want to talk about with like some humor, maybe some avoidance, or maybe some like silly little like or whatever. I think that's okay sometimes, but sometimes it's good to lean into that hardness to speak to that truth. I don't know whether I do that on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, but I try to at least keep that in the back of my mind in every interaction. I'm really honored to be here with all of you. It was really sweet to just walk around in that chaos of 30 minutes of small groups and hear everybody chatting.
Okay, I think I'm going to go rogue a little bit from this question. Okay, what came up for me when I heard this question is how I put like this practice into everyday life or my spirituality. The truth is I don't do any of these practices when I'm home in Cambridge. I haven't done arti since we did arti here last time. I chant every once in a while to like what I play on my phone. Yeah, and I honestly like don't have a satsang in the local area there. But what I found that is like I'm applying that to the communities I do have in my life throughout the year, including online SCP stuff, but like, yeah, just like with my neighbors, with, my classmates, or yeah, whoever is in that area, whoever I encounter, every relationship with people, with animals, with whoever, with spaces, places. Yeah, that's like, I try to like, yeah, see God in all of that. And there's like, I don't know who said it. Everyone, like hates it when you talk about like spirituality, but when you act like the Buddha, then, they love that. I totally paraphrase that. But yeah, it's kind of like that. Like I do feel that I don't talk about spirituality in my everyday life. It's my own like kind of like private personal practice. It's not outward in the talking of it. But I feel that I share it through, or try to share it through my actions. Yeah. And I think that, yeah, that's kind of what I'm exploring. And some of it does feel like it's like, I don't talk about it because there's like an embarrassment component to it, but yeah. I think it's all about just like figuring out what works for me in my setting. Everything's very context dependent. Yeah.
I don't know if Beverly fully knows this, but she's like one of my thoughtfulness teachers. She's someone that you could say offhand, like, oh, this thing's really cool. Like what if I had a hat with that logo on it? Right. And then she won't say anything. And then a year will go by and then she'll make it for you. Like she'll just make it and then give it to you as a gift. Yeah. So in terms of spirituality embodied through action, I think, yeah, you do embody that quite well. Lakshmi, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, okay. Should I use this one? I have something in terms of my daily practice, something that's really relevant for me right now, that I can share about, because truthfully, nothing else would feel authentic to share in this moment. It relates to the question that was asked here, but then someone else also asked me a specific question about being a hospice volunteer, and wanted me to share. So I'm really happy to share about that, and it's something really important for me, and it's what my practice looks like right now. That's the form that my practice has taken, so I can share from that place. So there's a story that I'll tell for a couple of minutes about something that I experienced recently about being a hospice volunteer. There was someone that I companioned as a volunteer, and it was through hospice, but mostly I feel like it was through Maharaji. I feel like he just kind of placed me into this situation because it was really unique and really special, and went really far beyond the role of just being a hospice volunteer. So I can start by saying I was matched up with someone who had ALS, and he was relatively young, and his mother didn't have the capability to take care of him. And so he couldn't live at home. He had to live in the hospital. I don't know what the details were. He couldn't get into any care facilities. So he had to be in the hospital. It was the only place for him. And by the time I got to him, he was already in a wheelchair. And because he was relatively young and had so much life left to live, he really, really had a hard time being trapped in that hospital room for months and months on end. He was there for. And so he really just wanted to go outside. And so that's what I did as a volunteer. I would show up and take him in his wheelchair outside. We would go to the water, like just sit in the sun and watch the waves at the beach, which is, that was really special in and of itself. And slowly over the months, our relationship went past being hospice volunteer companion, and it just went into being really, really good friends. And then I would say that there was another shift that happened in our relationship, maybe when he had about a month left to live, where we shifted from being really good friends to being unconditionally in love with each other. And that was the space that his pending death brought about. It was the fact that he was going to die that created that space and that opportunity for us to open into that space of unconditional love. And so one day we were just walking outside, and I can tell that he had something on his mind, and he was really ready to say. And he looked at me and he just said, I'm going to have a medically assisted death, and will you be there with me when I die? And that moment was very, very potent for me. I remember the whole rest of the day, I was in a different state of consciousness. It shifted me so drastically, that question. I said, yes, I'll be there with you. And that was kind of when that shift happened, when we really started to move into a space of love and oneness. And so the weeks following that was kind of all about MAiD, really. Medical assistance in dying is what MAiD stands for. And it was about getting ready for that and preparing a ceremony. And he really trusted me, and I was in a position where he essentially trusted me to plan the day for him. And he was really open to spirit, and towards the end, really, really, really connected to God. And he wanted a ceremony for himself as well. And so he trusted me to plan what that looked like for him. And so the day before he passed away, we had a choir come sing to him. There's a really beautiful choir called the Threshold Choir. This is a choir that sings at the bedside of dying people. And they are in many different cities, actually all over North America, and maybe even other places in the world as well. Anyway, so we had our local Threshold Choir come and sing to him. And he invited all of his friends. His mom was there, and I was there. And the choir came and sang to him. One of the things that they sang was, "We're all just walking each other home." That was one of the lyrics of one of the songs that they sang. And that day was really special because that was a big release for him. He was really emotional. He sat there crying. He was totally just releasing his final things that he had left in this life to release. And he had ALS, so he essentially couldn't really move at all. And so he couldn't wipe his tears. So I ended up sitting beside him with a tissue, wiping his tears as he was listening to the choir. And everyone in the room was just kind of watching us, and it was really, the air was so thick. And then, so that was the day before, and then finally his day came, and he was lucky to have a really supportive group of friends around him, family and friends. And so he invited them all to come as well. And so people were doing a lot to make this happen for him. And we arranged a ride for him to have this done outside of the hospital. So he was at a friend's house. And actually, she was another hospice volunteer who volunteered her home. And so we all went there, and he showed up in the morning. I remember the image of him coming in the car down the driveway, and him getting wheeled out of the car. And remember, that was one of the most potent moments of the day for me, was reflecting on the reality of what MAiD is, of what does it mean, like, to wake up in the morning knowing that you're getting in a car and driving to your own death. That was really far out to feel that, experience that. And so we had this beautiful ceremony. He had a sound bath. We all shared a final meal together. And then he chose to have the procedure done out in the backyard, which was a forested yard, and there was a creek kind of trickling through the yard. And so he wheeled him right up to the creek. And his choice was he wanted everyone to spend the 20 minutes before his death in meditation, whatever each person's own individual practice was. So we all sort of sat around in various places in the yard and all in silence meditating. And at one point in that 20 minutes, I went over to him and realized that was going to be my last moments with him, to say goodbye. And I finally was able to say something that we had both been feeling for the last little while. And it was very Ram Dass-esque. I just looked at him and I said, "I love you." And he looked up at me and said, "I love you too." And yeah, it really, really reminded me of Ram Dass. And yeah, it was just really interesting to think that we had been strangers such shortly before that moment. And then I gave him his final sip of water, and then the doctor came and he had the procedure done. There was 14 of us, his friends and family, all standing in a sort of semicircle around him. And he was in the forest in his wheelchair, sort of leaning back and looking up at the trees. And it was really one of the most profound moments of my life to just watch him die and watch the color leave his face and his lips turn blue and his body go stiff. And I remember a really tangible moment where I could feel his soul leave his body. Like just kind of feel energy flying up. It was very tangible. And one of the most potent things of that whole day that I wasn't even ready for, it was so beautiful, was to feel, being with his body afterwards, how much that wasn't him anymore. That was just no longer the person that I knew. He was completely gone. And to feel that sort of tangible energy of, it was just a really good example of what a soul is. I was seeing that. I was really experiencing that firsthand. Learning what a soul is. And so that there was so much beauty involved with this. It was hard, but it was the most beautiful thing. It was the deepest ceremony I could have ever imagined. And these are the spaces and the spaces that we can drop into when we open to death. And I'm sure a lot of people in this room, I'm sure you know that. And I know that there's people in this room who have had experience with MAiD, with supporting people who have had MAiD. That's a really special thing in and of itself, and I could talk about that for a long time. But I will wrap it up. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that, this is my practice. This is kind of how I show up. Show up for myself is just by serving people that are in that space. I'm really, really grateful that Maharaji gave me that opportunity to experience that. Death is a ceremony. There's a poem that I think I can read that sort of sums it up and feels like a good conclusion. So this is a poem on death from a book called The Prophet, one of my favorites. And this is just this is just kind of like an excerpt from it. It's the end. It says, "Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king, whose hand is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling that he shall wear the mark of the king? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered?" Yeah. That's my share.
Who's going to follow that?
Good luck.
What was the question? I know it generally, but I want to get back to the essence of it.
What does it mean to live spiritually, authentically in daily life?
Oh.
And what does that look like?
All right. Okay. We'll give it a swing. What it looks like is a hard question to answer because it's always changing for me. So that part can be any number of things. All of this is included in that to some degree. Ultimately, for me, this quote came to my mind when I was listening to Swap this afternoon, and it's remember to remember. And for me, whatever I'm doing in whatever context or capacity, I can only hope that I will remember to remember the essence of who I am and living that way in the world. It's a bit vague and zen, but I'll go with it. Do you want this?
Just as a comment, your answer was very zen. For the celebration of life for Ram Dass, Pavan and I were in a hot tub after with a few other devotees and someone who is traveling with Roshi Joan Halifax, Wendy, who is, what is her title?
She's like the right-hand person of Roshi Joan. She's her companion.
She's a very sincere Zen practitioner. And I asked the question, I asked everyone, I said, how does remembering look like for you? And there's all these different answers. And Wendy's answer was, in Zen, we focus on the remembering part of remembering, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so I just heard that. And I also just feel called to share that Connor recently went through a ceremony at Upaya, and we're giving a name that means great devotion. And yeah, and I saw Connor sitting this morning before meditation started, and we're all sitting around, and Connor was facing the wall, like a very sincere Zen practitioner. Yeah. So I just wanted to call attention to your great devotion in your practice.
Do I want to say more about that? Lead me in a direction. So what part? The wall part? It's pretty much it. You face the wall and you just sit there.
We're here talking like extensively about Hindu practices and all these things. And you're sitting up here and you spent quite a few months really dedicated to a Zen practice, which is very different than devotion practices. But you're sitting here enthralled in this just as much. I wonder if people might be interested to hear a little bit about how Zen maybe intersects your path as it maybe relates or differentiates from bhakti.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are entirely complex people. Every one of us are complete mysteries, if not just to ourselves, definitely to other people. If you've ever been in any kind of relationship or a part of a family, you will understand that it is difficult to know the fullness of another person, let alone ourselves. And this is just, I mean, to me, this is the truth. That's just how it is. We are incredibly complicated beings that are seemingly, to me, like almost impossible to know or to capture. So any practice that I do is almost first and foremost, or close second, is to better understand myself, to try to get to the essence of who am I, and what's that all about. And then when I follow a particular path like bhakti, I get some sort of understanding of that. And I hear certain words like devotion and love, and I go, okay, in the context of this path that I'm walking, I get that. And then it becomes a bit of an identity, and that's cool. And I know that there are other paths. So with this particular Zen path, I had an interview I was going to go to Upaya Zen Center where Roshi Joan lives, and she's the founder of this place. And I was going to go there. I was going to be a resident. It was 2020. I applied. I was talking to the director, Noah, and he said, he's like, hey, you have time for a Skype or whatever, Zoom? And jumped on, and he said, okay, so Roshi's going to jump on in a second. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. And she got on and she said, like, and keep this between us, because this is now we're gossiping. But she said, no, but this is, and fair enough. She said, this isn't like, because she knew I was into Ram Dass and stuff. She knew my connection to Ram Dass. She said, this isn't like Ram Dass tie-dye stuff. Like, just so we're clear, like, this is, we're wearing black. We're wearing black. It's a part of the practice. So that was like my introduction into this new path, that it's serious. Like it's a different way. It's a different posture. Like it's a different posture to put my ego and my mind and my thoughts. And so everything kind of settles differently, if that makes any sense. So entering into a different path like Zen, What's been interesting to me, and I was just saying this to Pav, like the intersection and the words that come up and the understandings. And I don't want to use the word belief in the context of Zen because I don't have the authority to put those words into Zen. But yeah, love, devotion. I mean, Roshi and Ram Dass were such good friends.
Really intimate.
Intimate friends. And so what did they relate on? At what level did they relate? And so I think about that, and I think words like love and devotion and, all of these still exist. So I don't have answers. That's been another acceptance on the path of Zen, is not knowing. What a relief. But it's a practice. And sitting with the question of what is love, whether it's in the context of bhakti, whether it's in the context of Zen, what are the ways that they relate? Deeper truth. So is that okay? Yeah. And the wall thing, I don't know. Yeah.
Or is that a personal choice?
No, it's a thing. No, it's a thing. It's really try it. Yeah, no, it's a thing. I can't speak to it, with like a historical understanding of what it is. I'm sure there's like plenty of people who could. It's how they did it at Upaya. I find it's incredibly humble and grateful kind of practice, and just a reverence for an appreciation for everything, including the wall, including the stain on the floor. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just kind of like, it's like, well, you've kind of reached the wall, so you might as well just like, where are you going to go? Just sit down. Thank you. Yeah.
Swap, you get the final word. And then.
Well, I'll just say that all of Connor's answers had such a clear Zen through line. I learn something new about Connor. Now it seems like every 3 months, so once a quarter. And that goes back to what he's saying about us all being unique and complicated. And Connor's been a big teacher for me because, I think sometimes, oh yeah, I've got this person figured out. And then I just learned this whole new aspect. I'm just like, what? I was like, yeah, Connor, he's a guy like me, we can't draw and stuff and do, because I can't, right? And then I see Connor this last week being so creative in all these sweet, colorful, artistic ways. And I was like, where the heck did that come from? And then about a month ago, I learned that Connor really loves techno music. And I was like, dude, I really like techno music. And we've known each other for a couple of years, but my own judgment got in the way of us being able to connect on it. So now we're gonna go to a party, I guess. I will keep mine brief because I spoke for an extended period of time. But essentially what spirituality looks for me is having some kind of glimmer of what we spoke about in our session earlier, of that devotion, present, whether it's bright or just floating around in space, in my life. That doesn't always mean that if I'm working, busy, stressed, high pressure, Teams calls, meetings, all these things, that I can sit there and I can remember God. Far from it. Sometimes, sincerely, it happens. Most of the time, sincerely, it doesn't. But I find in myself that if I'm stressed and fed up with the day and I don't know what's going on, I always do have a reason that I can fall back on, which is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is work, stress, difficult relationships, difficult life choices, whatever, for me are held in, if I'm being just blatant about it, are held in Maharaji's lap. So what spirituality looks like for me, a little bit what Zander said with practice, remembering. With Lakshmi and I'm fortunate enough to be able to feed off of her practice when she comes home. And that, what Beverly was kind of saying about being able to embody the practices without talking about the practices. And then probably not so much about what Connor was saying, but being able to be in the world and in my interactions in such a way that there's like a small memory card in the back of my head that knows what it's really all about. And slowly over time, I can feel that becoming more of a baseline. At least when things are tough or when things are easy, I know that my life isn't a mistake. That I know that there's a greater hand in it. I trust that even the team's meetings with people who interrupt each other like it's their religion, that they judge. And I was making a joke. I don't know if I told Sitaram Dass this, but at one point for my team's calls with his business, which is my dad's business, I looked at the invocation and I inversed it. And it basically applied to the way that they conduct the meetings. That instead of leading with authenticity, vulnerability, and courage, you lead with judgment, criticism, and putting people down. Ensuring that space is evenly shared, ensuring that one person holds the room. That's it. Turns out that it's a little bit more comfortable to be with those discomforts if in some back, small, dark corner of my mind, I know that it's all the way it's supposed to be. And right now for me, that is basically what spirituality looks like.
It's beautiful.
Before we move on, I remembered something I want to say.
Is it quick?
It is quick.
Okay.
I just, I don't know. This came to me. This is a mantra that I've been repeating to myself a lot that I've heard from a teacher of mine. And I wanted to share just in case, I don't know if it means anything to anybody else, but it's, don't hold on to confusion. That's it. That's all I want to say.
It's good. So we're going to do RT.